Welcome to another episode of the VRCade Podcast, a podcast for arcades by arcades. Today, I am joined with Mr. Chun, who is my co-host. How are you, sir?
Hello, everyone. Doing good. Thank you, Serge. How about you?
Very well, thank you. And we have Sarah from VRus, which is a VR arcade in Austin, Texas, right? San Antonio, Texas.
Almost close to Austin, about like an hour away from Austin.
Excellent. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm in DVR, everyone. And
Thank you for having us.
No, it's, I really appreciate you being in the chat when we do our podcast. You're always asking questions. Really do appreciate that, your interaction and you being there. So I thought I'd reach out and see if you wanted to be a guest.
Yeah, I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? But it's like, let's go for it. It's always exciting to. I'm a fan of VR, so it's always a fan. I'm always a fan of talking about VR. So this was the perfect opportunity for me to talk about VR, something that I'm very passionate for.
That's one thing we all have in common. We're all passionate about VR, that's for sure.
That's how you get on the podcast as well, right? Just ask some questions in the VR's YouTube podcast channel, and you should be in the next episode. That's how you get in.
Yeah.
I won't suggest video me. I don't suggest video me in VR because I do get a little bit intense. Just because I get so immersed in VR, so I would never recommend recording me in VR because I get too intense in a good way. But I just like gaming, so when I game, I just game and I tend to talk to myself a lot in VR, like, come on, let's do it. And kind of motivating myself to do it. So I love VR.
We can do that in the next episode, a live stream of you in some kind of scary horror game. That'd be fun.
Hopefully we could censor every word I could say possibly. I keep it clean, but sometimes, like, come on.
Nah, just let the emotions go. I think it's like a little bit therapeutic, right? When you play these games and, can just get some cursors out of your chest.
It is very therapeutic. When customers come by, I told them, like, think about. Hopefully, this doesn't come the wrong way. When customer comes, like, I need a break from reality. I said, pretend those zombies are your co-workers, because we love our co-workers. We love enjoying them, but sometimes they could get on our case. And I said, pretend it's your co-worker, boss, anybody you don't like, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, and anybody. And then when I say that, just jokingly, I could tell, and I could see in their movement they're trying to pretend it's somebody that they don't like. And then when they come out, they feel like, oh, this was very therapeutic. It's just because they felt like they could relieve stuff in VR. I always tell people anything that you do in VR is legal, so there's nothing like no law if you chop somebody out in VR. There's not gonna be like you're gonna get the police called. It's somewhere that you could feel comfortable and feel like you got all your anger or all the energy out, playing the VR game. So me saying that jokingly to the customers, it makes them very pumped up to play the game just because they could pretend that those zombies is somebody they don't like.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's quite funny.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's one way to make. You're gone.
Yeah, it's quite dark sometimes. I tell because I have dark humor, and sometimes I have to turn it off in my dark humor. But I always try to make it fun for everybody who comes to our facility. Make them feel that nobody's gonna judge them for the way how they play. Because a lot of people think, oh, I need to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You have to just let the game immerse you, and then play the best that you could play. Nobody's gonna judge you for your score. If you messed up on the boss fight and like in running apples, so you just enjoy yourself and just have fun. That's our goal here in VRS.
Nice. And what was your first VR experience then?
Oh, I had a bad VR experience, I will say, but then it turned out to be good because my first VR experience. It was a VR escape room, and it was the first time in a VR center because I play VR in PlayStation, back home, MetaQuest. But when I played in the VR center, I had a bad experience just because there was a huge echo in my headphones, and I would hear myself like 2 or 3 times, and so I couldn't concentrate. But then the good news, I didn't give up. So I went to another VR center, and then I asked him, "Hey, is there a possibility to not hear any echo?" And then once I did the VR escape room from one of our partners that we actually have here, which is ARVI, I did the game Tantrum, and I felt so immersed. I felt so smart doing the game. Like, oh my goodness, I could figure this out. Because a lot of times these VR escape rooms could be a little bit difficult for some, but I felt so smart, like, oh my goodness, I could do it. So I went with my son, my 2 nieces, and my husband, all 5 of us. Obviously, we all, although it was easy, but we were arguing with each other. But for us, that was a family moment that made our VR experience. We feel like bonded because if we could argue in VR, have fun in VR, if we could do all this stuff in VR, do stuff that we can't do in real life, that's what bonded us. So because of that, that was my VR experience. Feeling that I could do a VR escape room in an environment with my family. So that it inspired me to do VR escape rooms instead of doing a physical escape room. Because that was the plan. I wanted to do a physical escape room. But then I come from the IT background. So I used to be an IT project manager for years. And then a situation came up, and then I told myself, like, let me do something different. And then I decided to open VRS here in San Antonio.
Got you. Got you. Got you.
Basically, you had a bad experience first, then you
Yep.
had a good experience, and then you somehow decided to just open a VR arcade center? Or how
Yes.
did that actually go?
So it is I would say it's a good and sad story how we open. I'm a huge advocate of helping kids not get bullied. I'm pretty sure people know that, and it's in everywhere, but in United States, is really high the level of people getting bullied. Fortunately, my son, he was 10 year old at the time I started doing the business process. He got to the point that they told him to commit suicide because you know how kids are. They could be very mean. And so luckily Mama Bear came and took care of it, make sure that things were situated in the school. I changed them to school. But then that inspired me to create something for an outlet for those kids. That's why we call VRS escape reality, because you're escaping the reality when you come here. And so I wanted to create an outlet and advocate for people who do get bullied. I would say 90% of our audience are introverted and 10% are extroverted. And so a lot of people who come here, they're quote unquote for the world, they're considered to be strange. But for me, nobody's strange. Everybody's the same. So I created, because of what happened to my son, I was inspired to do something that could combine and bring an outlet for those kids to just come here and just forget, what's going on in the real world. So that inspired me to open this place. And the good news about our community, because we're very, when you come to our facility, everybody feels the family love and the welcoming. So we've been praised a lot to helping kids feel comfortable besides they're facing in real life. So I'm super happy I've been able to create the outlet. It was a commitment to open this VR escape room, because leaving our IT project manager, leaving that salary that you see, and I'm going to open this and bring in an outlet and be passionate what I was wanted to do. It took effort. So I'm glad now everything's automated. Especially having the IT background, it helps make stuff easier. We created programs to do things, automatic, so we don't have to do things manually in our side. But that overall is a good and bad news. I would say I opened the VR escape room. But I will tell you, I don't regret it, because every time I see somebody happy, and go through those doors, especially when they come out their experience and I see them happy, I feel like my mission has been completed.
It sounds beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Serge, anything to add here? Should I just?
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's a really inspiring story. Like that you kind of, because of what happened, then you decided to do what you're doing now. So that kind of gives you that extra passion, doesn't it? Like a lot of extra passion for what you're doing.
Correct. So that because I'm a good reader. Like I read the like when customers come, I'm really good reading how they feel. Because a lot of times, a lot of people are brought here against their will. Especially the parents. Like I'm trying to find an outlet for my child. I don't know where to bring them. I bring them to the other entertainment centers around, but they feel like claustrophobic because we have a lot of big entertainment centers here. But seeing the intake and seeing the parents come to us asking like, "Hey, what experience do you recommend for my child?" It makes a difference. And then I see our mission every day that we are open. I see that mission come through because we are really passionate of helping people feel like they're not a number. We don't treat people like transaction. We have a flow that works so well that we give like the pre, the during, and the after this whole experience that way they feel that they're not left behind. Because a lot of people, when you have your first VR experience, you want to talk about it all the time. You want to talk about it after, so we give the after talks, and that actually helps our customers come back. I would say our return rate is about 98% because we do have a lot of people who travel a lot to San Antonio, so them coming back often is impossible because they're in another states. But I would say 98% of our audience do come back because we give that pre experience, during experience, and after talk experience that they all are seeking. And we are able to do so because we're the way that we manage stuff here at VRS.
That's a really good return rate. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So
Once they come here,
Yeah,
we got them covered.
nice. So what are like your unique selling points and what you do to kind of stand out from the crowd?
So luckily, I'm good in SEO. it's so it's it's so key, and I'm not shy to go to influencers. I've been to several influencers. Knock on wood, they haven't charged me anything compared to the other competitors. But going to the influencers and say, hey, this is the cost. Can you come and can you just do a Instagram reel, a TikTok reel? I would say our majority of our audience are Gen Zs, and so Gen Zs they communicate through social media platforms a little bit better. And, like newspapers, that's kind of obsolete. But we do a lot of like Google ads. But our influencers are kind of really helpful, and then we ask people to tag us when if they're gonna post a video of their experience, and then we do the videos for them. So I'm very good doing videos and capturing the right moment. I tell people I make you look good in the videos. That way you could actually post it. So I would say, and using our social media platforms and having a good SEO and word of mouth, and we every time somebody comes to our experience, we give them like a card and say, hey, the next time you book, you get 15% discount. So those little things actually helps us get exposed by others to come and visit our facility. But I will say marketing is very you should, if you're somebody's going to open up any entertainment center, especially VR, you should have a good marketing plan because without that, you're not going to be exposed and people is not going to know about you. You could be the greatest VR place, but if you don't have that exposure, you're just going to have no customers coming.
Got you. That's very true.
Yeah. And when did this journey begin, actually? So how long have you been open? No.
So officially, it's been open since a year and 2 or 3 months. The journey started about 2 years ago when the situation happened with my son, so right away I left the IT project manager role. So the journey has been 2 years, but from opening it's been a year, and I would say a year and 3 months. It's been good. I will say overall we were the first. I call us the legit VR place. Because a lot of people have so much bad experience because they go to the roller coaster ones and they've experienced that motion sickness, and they figure they compare they think of VR motion sickness, and then we tell them here, especially if they're in the free room, you're the controller, you're controlling yourself, you're walking in VR, you're not having the locomotion. So having saying to people we're the legit VR experience, it makes them feel like they truly know what is VR. So when you come here, you know from beginning to end, this is 100% VR because we know what we're talking about, and we make sure to understand all the concepts. That way we could communicate that well with the customers, because a lot of customers here ask us a lot of questions about VR, like what's going to happen, am I going to throw up, and blah blah blah. So we make sure to give them a briefing every time they go into the game. That way they know what's going on, especially when it is a free room. I told them if you go out of the bounds and when you come back, you're gonna have that lag because you went out of bounds. Sometimes some people it's hard. It's not easy. Sometimes it doesn't happen often, but every now and then we have people out of bounds and like, oh, I can see I see the outside. They're like, yeah, because you went through a wall. But I would say, from San Antonio, we won one of the true VR experiences. After we opened, kid you not, we got three more VR centers opening 6 months after we opened. So we're the first one that fully provides everything in VR. The other ones are now more free roam, like Sandbox and Zero Latency. They just came 6 months after we opened, um, which is good because and a lot of people think having other VR centers is bad, but it's not bad at all because you not always go to the same restaurant, right? So you go to different restaurants, eat the same thing. It's like the VR. It's like you try Sandbox, and if you like Sandbox, then you see what is out there. So it kind of give us business, and we give them business too as well.
Yeah, and it's always a different experience anyway, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
mentioned the VR roller coaster thing. I'm not sure if you tried this one also yourself, but I actually did, and even though I spent many hours in VR, I still got motion sick from that
Yeah.
one. So, but it's a cool experience, and I know that that some things in VR work for me and some others don't. So
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And like I tell customers, are you is the vibe today like a mind game, or do you just want to shoot? And then they say I just want something to challenge my mind, then I suggest like a VR escape room. But if they just want to shoot and just and throw their energy away, then I would suggest the VR free room. And that's the good thing about our venue. We have so many options that we make sure that we pair you with the right experience, because we don't if you don't like shooting, we don't want you to go to the shooting arena. Or if you don't like mind games, then we don't suggest the VR escape room. We'll talk about it and tell you the differences. So we're good in kind of scoping which experience should be best aligned with the person comes in. Ultimately, it's their decision, but us explaining and taking that time before we actually launch the game, it actually helps their experience be better because we're pairing them with the right experience from the get go.
Yes, that qualifying the customer is so important.
Oh yeah,
If you don't ask the right questions, they're not going to come back because you're going to put them in the wrong experience, like the roller
yeah.
coaster. And yeah, it's really important to really ask the right questions. Do you have like a set questions that you say you're training a new member of staff? Do you have like a script kind of thing where it's like you need to ask these questions?
Not really,
Mm-hmm.
because every customer is a bit different because we get different type of audiences.
Yeah.
But we try to get try to ask the right questions based on how they behave when they come in. A lot of times we have people who are quiet, like super quiet, and I just point to the posters. Is this the one you want to play? And I show them the trailer, and
Yeah.
then they're done, and they're happy. And then when they're in a VR escape room, they're not quiet. They're just quiet in front of new people. So
Yeah.
we tailor our script based on what we see, and because a lot of people need a little bit more attention. We giving them more attention. Some people just like, get me into the experience. I know VR. I don't need you to explain anything. And then I want to play this game, so we go ahead and those are our easy ones.
Yeah.
Like we just put them in the headset, say here's the tutorial, here you go, and those are the ones that typically tend to play 2 or 3 hours here. So we don't have a exact script, but we have to understand the audience when they come in and make sure that we're not giving them too much or too little. We want to make sure that we're giving the right information that they need. That way they
Yes.
have a good experience.
So it's very much, it's like a sales process, isn't it? Like when I've worked in sales and
Yeah.
someone comes in to, I used to work in gyms and they want to join. Some people will say nothing. You can just look at someone's body language and how they speak, and then eventually they open up and they,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Very good way to do things.
And it's always good because I always hear, like when I'm monitoring the games, I always hear the conversation. I tell the people I'm your game master. I'm like a lawyer. I won't say anything that you say in the game. I'll keep it quiet, but I will chime in every now and then just to make it dynamic. And so I love monitoring games because I get to listen how people are having so much fun. Yeah, I think the best way to sell these services is once you have experienced VR, because I found in this journey, because I'm so passionate about gaming overall. Besides the circumstance that took me to open this, having that passion, knowing that I want to have make people happy, makes it easy for me to talk to people. Because I'm in my comfort zone. If you ask me about stuff about law, I'm not gonna like want to be clueless. I may know a couple of laws, but like don't go in depth. I will probably be in jail if I answer some questions wrong. But because I'm so passionate with VR or in gaming in general, it's easy to talk to the customers. It's easy for them to come back and or call me. And sometimes I have conversations over the phone that could last about 30 minutes, which is pretty long. But the good news, when you talk with that person for 30 minutes, I could guarantee you that they're going to be a group of 12, because we get a lot of groups of 12 because we have a game that you could have up to 12 players playing at the same time. So those people, when you take so long, take the time to talk to them in general, they will come and invite other co-workers and other co-workers, friends. So it is easy to sell the services if you're passionate, especially with the industry.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you're a passionate gamer, not
Oh
just in VR, but in general.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you also have customers that are like this. And do they ask you questions like, I just played on my
Oh, yeah.
PlayStation. How is it to play in VR? Can you give me an example? What do you tell these people, and how do you get them to this VR side of things?
Oh, that's a hard question because we get so many different people asking so different games. Because a lot of times when people come into our facility, I'm always with the headphones, and people think, "Are you gaming?" Like, no, I wish I was gaming. I haven't been able to game and how can I say, game and at the same time monitor the games I'm monitoring. And so a lot of people, yeah, and they're hesitant when they come and they say, hey, I'm used to doing PC, or I'm used to doing Xbox. So I just, depending on what, I always ask them specific questions. And if there's a game that we could bond from, let's say Fortnite, just an example. If there's something that we could bond, I use those kind of examples and how it relates to VR. So that kind of helps a conversation. So for me, it's easy to talk to people. Just because when it relates to gaming, because I've been gaming since 30 years, like since I'm the OG gamer, from the beginning, from Super Nintendo. Oh no, Atari. That's the first gaming that I did, which is, when you think about it, it's a simple simple gaming. But yeah, I just have to find that niche that will make me have that conversation with them, and so that way they will feel comfortable asking me more advanced questions.
Well, then onto the more technical stuff, I guess, because that's also interesting for all the other arcade owners, right?
Yeah.
What kind of hardware do you use at your venue?
So right now we use Vive Focus 3, HTC Vive Pro 2, and also we use MetaQuest 2. Those are the three main ones for our VR escape rooms. We use the HTC Vive Pro 2. Is our teller experience, and I use the HTC Vive Pro 2 for our teller experience for our VR escape room because the graphics are a little bit better. I if I could find the perfect headset, I would say there's no perfect headset. But for our free room, I use the Vive Focus 3 and I use the Meta Quest 2, from a hardware standpoint. And then all of our PCs are Alienware's graphics 3080s, and then we're tapping into the 4080s. So it's really nice to have a good PC to run these games. Because if you don't have a good PC to run these games, then the quality is not gonna. People are gonna complain about the quality, and for us, it's all about graphics, making sure that we have the right equipment to make sure that when you go into that experience, like, wow, looks really realistic. So when you come out, like, oh, where am I? Is this real life? So I try to make sure that we have the latest equipment, the latest technology to make sure that you feel like you're truly immersed in VR.
And do you also have some add-ons for the Quest 2, for example? The head strap batteries with the swappable battery packs and stuff. So that makes your life a little bit easier because otherwise I think
Oh,
they
yeah.
just have a battery life for 2 hours or something like this.
Yes, so we use Elite straps for our Quest, and then for our Vive Focus 3, we have additional batteries, and so
Mhm.
that's the best thing about the Vive Focus 3 because it's easy to swap. Like I wish everything was that easy to swap, but so we have additional batteries in the case, our Vive focuses run out. But with the HTC Vive, because they're cable, we don't have to worry about anything. Just to clean up, make sure everything is clean. We're pretty OCD here in our facility. We make sure everything is super clean. And that's something that we get a lot of props when you come to our facility. Like, it smells so good. It doesn't smell like a gaming lounge. I'm like, no, you can still game and it still smell good. The facility. So we try to have everything sparkle so that way it attracts the parents. Like, oh, we're going to an environment that is fun but also clean too. I can't emphasize having the clean headsets because a lot of times we get customers say, well, we went to this place and then everything was not clean and we didn't feel comfortable. So when they come to us, they feel like, oh, this is super clean. So it's kind of point for us here in our facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we haven't touched on in this podcast, I think, yet. But hygiene is really important. I mean, we do also, after every session, we just clean everything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it's, as you said, so important because if you're the next one, you don't want to have a sweaty headset, right?
Oh yeah,
So
100%. And then what I do, we have because I would say 85% of our audience wear glasses, so
yeah,
we have anti fog, and so and we give them the anti fog. Because some people don't realize in VR that you get warm and your glasses could get foggy, so we give them the anti fog. And if they want us to, 'cause people do, I tell people if you want us to clean in front of you again, we could do it again. So we we understand our audience that if they ask us to do something, we'll do it for them after it's legal. Obviously, we don't want to do anything illegal in VR, but yeah. So having those anti fog, cleaning the headsets, it makes the experience much better for the people who come in.
yeah. So you also mentioned that you have like 3 different kinds of headsets.
Yes.
And how has it been on the technical side? I can imagine that's really hard to, get used to everything software-wise, everything hardware-wise. What do I need to do to make this work? And you guys just opened like 1.5 years ago. So how was this phase at the beginning where you have to learn everything new?
Um, um, I will say is a huge advantage having a technical background. Just because I started in the help desk from the beginning of times. And knowing how to troubleshoot, like, because it's easy to discourage when a game crashes. Like, what's going on? Is it a headset? Is it a game? Or is it Steam? And so you have to go to that checklist, and because we're really good troubleshooting. Myself and Alex are really good troubleshooting. We were able to identify the problems right away. It's like, do we need to add more RAM? Or so for us, if you're not a non-technical person opening a VRCade, because I've seen them, I would suggest to get somebody in their staff that does know the tech world, because that will make it much easier. For us, we were up and running. Probably wouldn't. We got the location. We had to do the painting, the decoration. But from a tech standpoint, yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm cocky, but we've done it within like a week and about 2 weeks max, because we had to do the testing, making sure what works, what doesn't work, and so we had a good test group that came to test all the games, making sure that we understand if this happens, what do we do? Do we restart the game? So having that background experience helped with this process for us. This is like when we got out of our Anywheres, it was like Disney. Like for we unpacked it, put it in the where they're located. But it was Disney for us. Like, oh my goodness, we got our Alienwares, and we obviously had to test each one of them, even though it's the same equipment. But well, I'll take that back. It's the same equipment, but sometimes depending on the firmware updates, if it's not, a lot of things could go wrong, even if even if it has the same specs. But I will say overall, it didn't take us too much. But because we had that IT background to support that for us to be very easy to take care of this. But having three different headsets, um, is no issue, especially because the HTC Vive Pro is already tailored, and so there's nothing we have to do with that. And then with the Quest 2, we just have to make sure the firmware updates and all that. But everything is really self-managed. We have a control center that we control the headsets. We know where the battery lies of every headset and what's going on. So it's easier for us to, because of that control center, it's easier to us to manage. And plus, because we play the games too before it's even out to the public. It makes it easier to know, like, okay, they did this happened because of this, or because it went out of bounds. So, playing the VR games and testing the VR games during the process is a must, especially if you're opening a VR arcade center.
Yeah, that background is definitely like a massive
Oh yeah,
advantage. Yeah, definitely. Probably
it
saves
saves
a
money
lot of
too.
time. Sorry?
It saves money too.
Yeah, and time as well. Pretty much every day, I'd say. That's really good technical background to have when owning an arcade. And you did mention about your demographic, and you have some slightly older people coming in as
Oh
well.
yeah.
Do you
Oh
want to
yeah.
share some stories?
Oh, I love the I love our seniors. Just because they have no expectations. And so when you're like a regular gamer, you have high expectation. It has to have good graphics and etc. etc. I'm not saying our games don't have good graphics, because they do, but every game it's not even it's not perfect, I will say. But our seniors between 70 to 80, they're so ahead here, so they come here. We explain the process to them. We had, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a 75 birthday party here in VR, and he brought all of his friends from the adult daycare that he goes to. And I think it was the cutest thing ever, but didn't allow us to record. It would have been a good TikTok video if it would allow us to record. But he wanted to have fun, and then some of his friends were 80, and they were, but because we have a long hallway, by the time they went to the end of the hallway is about 10 minutes. It usually takes about 2 or 3 minutes to go to the long hallway. But they were just having fun playing against each other. I was worried about their hips, like, oh my goodness, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. So what we ended up doing, because it was a group of 10 people, so we closed the facility and let them just have fun by themselves, give them extra time, just because we wanted them to feel like this is was a good VR experience. And interesting enough, for a lot of them, this was their first gaming ever, and so having them playing VR with that age group. But I would say every week we get grandmas, and then a lot we tell the customer after. So if the grandma comes with the grandchild and the grandchild is saying like, hey, I'm gonna be the best score, we put grandma in easy mode and the grandson in hard mode, so that way the shots count more towards grandma. So we try to make the grandmas feel or grandpas feel very comfortable here. But I was pleasantly surprised that our older population embraces VR better than our millennials. Our millennials, I'm working with them. They're very try to control everything. Like I tell people, like just enjoy yourself. You don't worry about it. You're not. It's not a test. If it was a test, everybody will fail. I will say jokingly, but I love having my seniors here because they have no expectation. They just like, what do I do? Do I walk? Like, yeah, you walk like you normally would walk in real life. Do I grab this weapon? What does this weapon do? Like, well, you shoot it, but you have to have passion to take time with the or order group because and they appreciate that when you take their time and telling them, it's gonna be okay. You're good. It's gonna be okay.
That's really
But that's our experience.
that's really cool. We've got Classy Betty. She just said in the chat, my grandma's mind was blown when she saw the Oculus Homeworld for the first time, and now she wants a headset for Christmas. And
I
yeah,
think is definitely give her that for Christmas, especially doing Beat Saber. That's a very popular one. The kickboxing. There's so many games. I always tell the customers when they come here, especially the parents, if you think about it, it's educational too. Like a lot of people think when you're a gamer, you're like, oh, you're just gaming, you're not doing anything productive. But if you think about it, when you game, you have to strategize. You have
yeah,
to have that strategy in order to beat the game. And especially with in the Oculus, there's a lot of games that your grandma is gonna especially enjoy. So I always tell people buying the Oculus or any VR headset is very good just because it gives you the space to leave reality, and plus it's a workout too. You could, you know, some games, especially with Beat Saber, and it's a workout. So I would encourage everybody to buy a headset for the grandma, and they love it. After they get used to it, they love it.
On
yeah.
that topic of the games, sorry, Serge, but I was just
Okay.
wondering, as an arcade owner, as a gamer, what are you looking for to take into your library? What kind of games, you know, pique your interest?
If I could have more VR free roam escape games, that would be crucial because our audience is asking for more challenging games. A lot of times when a lot of our VR escape rooms, because they're tailored, some people get tangled with the cables, which is normal because you're so excited you go back and forth and get tangled. But if I could add anything to our library, it will be a more VR free room escape rooms because I feel like there's an audience out there and there's only a few developers that actually are really good at the VR free room walking escape rooms. But if we could have more of that, I think that will be a hit because and when you're doing a VR escape room, you're doing more than the physical escape room. You're going out doing different stuff that you can't do in the physical escape room. So if I could add more, it will be the VR escape rooms, free roam.
Yeah, free roam is the future, right? The free roam's
Oh yeah,
it's
because
definitely
you don't have. You could do stuff and behind their back and they don't notice because it's in VR, which which is kind of funny. We get a lot of people throwing stuff in VR, especially when they're doing the walking ones. And I tell them if they act out, just throw stuff in the back. They're not gonna feel it, unless they have to have the feedback. Then you may feel it, depending on how the developer developed the maneuvers. But I think it's exciting, a free roam, just because it gives you the liberty to walk, and you're actually controlling where you're going to, instead of teleporting to the wrong place.
Yeah, I actually experienced. I went to Switzerland and asked Chan to show me what free roam VR is, because I've only ever done just like I haven't got a big play space. And within like a couple of minutes, I was like, this is so much better. It's totally different. Totally different. We're walking around in Rotten Apple, and we played Alice as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and it's so immersive. It's like, as opposed
Very
to
trippy, Alice.
yeah. And it was like we were killing zombies, and instead of like pushing a stick, I was just walking up to them and shooting them, and you just feel
Correct.
it's just like, oh my god, like I wish I could play like this every day.
Correct, exactly. Sometimes every now and then, me and Alex, we do, our co-founder, we will just play Run App or play any other VR escape room. We just teleport and like, oh, look at this, and go in that magical experience. But for me, when I play Run Apple, I play by myself because I'm selfish. Because I don't like when other people die and then I have to restart the stage. Not that I'm a selfish person. I just like I'm so focused, and so when I play running up, I was like, okay, let's go to the train, let's kill the boss, let's kill all the zombies. The other day, it was funny. I was kind of upset with a customer that comes here a lot. She had 12K in her money to buy new upgraded guns in running Apple. And she didn't want to spend the money. It's like, oh my goodness. I told her I wanted to get your headset, spend your money. You could have done a Uzi, you could have done anything else. But she didn't want to spend the money because she wanted to have the money for herself. Like, but then when the game is over, then the money goes to nowhere. So
Yeah,
it's kind of fun when you are able to feel like these games are real. And that's why, whoever is interested in opening a VR arcade, just know that people are just gonna have fun. There's always gonna be technical issues, but after you test and know how, if something happens, what to do, and then let's say like Steam VR crashes, for example, after you tell the customer what happens and get them up and running right away, it's okay because things will happen. Luckily, knock on wood, one of the few times we had people Steam VR crash, um, but um, but after you tell the customer and get them up and running right away, they're perfectly fine. So I think is VR is just good overall experience. I think everybody should try it at least once. A legit VR experience. Let me put it that way.
What's the most technical hurdle that you've come across then with operating a VR arcade?
Steam VR.
Steam VR. Say no
That's my
more.
main. Yeah, because what we do our pre-checks, the volume check, make sure everything's looking good. So and then we check everything. But I would say sometimes Steam VR is a little bit stubborn. But I think it's normal. I've seen all the errors they could provide. So as soon as I see something, I know right away what to do. But that will be my main problem. But from getting customers in and managing the day to operation, after you have a flow and everything is planned out, I think what helped a lot, because I used to be an IT project manager, and being an IT project manager, you're super strict with everything has to have an order and everything has to have a plan. So I'm a planner, so I plan everything in all the different scenarios. Did a lot of created my own test scripts, so it made it easy to understand the problem, knowing having that background, and also being able to have it well planned. That way, when I operate this on a daily basis, it's just self-maintained because I had a good planning stage before I did anything before I moved forward. So having that background really helped me. So I would say the only problem I will have is Steam VR, but I haven't had any issues since a couple of months. Every now and then, it updates by its own, even though I asked not to update. But it's something that's not that it's not an inconvenience to fix. It's just shut down the link box and restart it depending on what error message you get. They have several error messages, but I think overall Steam will be the only issues I would say I will have.
Got you.
Cool. Any other questions from your channel? Because otherwise, I just have one final one, if that's okay.
Just quickly, I think FitzVR asked, "What is your favorite game?"
Oh,
VR.
don't think this is because it's y'all. I will say Rotten Apple, and just because it's one of the first VR free roams I've done that I actually feel like I could shoot and play in teams. Although earlier I said I didn't like playing with teams, I like playing solo. But when first time I played that, I played with one of our testers. He was really good. I was compared to him, I'm nothing. But he made that experience so good. So every time I see people play that game, it always reminds me of my experience. So I would say my favorite game VR that I have in my library, it will be Rotten Apple and Jumpers. That's another free escape room that would say from escape room Jumpers is my favorite, and from a shooting arena it will be free Rotten Apple, because they both are different concepts. The same kind of free roam type of idea, but different concept between both of them, which makes them my favorites.
Good choices.
Yeah, you good choice, right? I should get candy from the last year. Last year they sent me candy from Switzerland. Oh my goodness, that candy, that chocolate was so good. So maybe if I sweeten say something nice, they will send me chocolate again because it was really good, like legit chocolate compared to the United States.
Yeah, you can send me some of that chocolate as well, Chan, because you still haven't. Yeah.
Yeah, usually I'm the one who's sending out the chocolate. So yeah, let's see what we can do here.
Okay, that'll be good. It'll make me happy, and I'll do a TikTok video of it.
Nice.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, sure. We can do that.
And you have one more question before we wrap up, Mr. Chan?
I mean, I thought the last question and answer was so perfect. I don't think that I want to ruin that with another stupid question. So from my side, it's okay.
That's good. That's good. We left it in a good note with chocolate. Who doesn't like
Exactly.
chocolate?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Everyone, people in the chat saying chocolate.
Because they know that chocolate is good.
Yeah.
It was really good, and yeah, I was selfish. I would tell, like, I'm not a selfish person, and the reason why, because the chocolate that was sent to me, it was I think it was 2 or 3 bars, and I ate 2 of them and gave one to the other co-founder. And he said, "Is there more?" Like, nope, there's no more. And I had a hidden my little drawer, but it's all good. Unless he's probably gonna see this podcast, he's gonna call me out for eating the chocolate. But if you send more, I will make sure to give him a little bit more than the last time.
We can definitely arrange something.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been
Thank
really
you for
interesting
having
talking
me
to you
here.
and for your
Appreciate
insight.
it.
Yeah. It's really been interesting. It's great to hear other different people's motivations and to why they started working, opening VR arcades in the
Yeah.
day-to-day life, and what kind of gets you going, and how you the custom experience as well. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You never know what will inspire you, even if it's something that is not as comfort to talk about, but
Yeah.
anything could inspire you to open something that could make other people happy.
That's really cool. I think Mr. Chan, thank you very much as well too, sir.
Thank you as well. This was so much fun. So also thank you, Sarai, for being here, being our guest, and just sharing your story with us.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So thank you everyone for watching. That is Sarah, who is from VRus from in San Antonio, Texas, which is close to Austin. And we will see you in the next episode. Don't forget to follow Sarah on TikTok. You're on YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah,
it's all linked in the description. Really appreciate your support. And we will see you in the next one. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, guys.